Dear audience of LifeStreamFM, I'm very delighted to announce the next episode, and we are happy to have our guest, Sergey Saprykin. We are going to talk about transformation and many things. He is advisor to the CEOs, and he's been part of many transformational projects. And before I go into the questions, I'm always interested in what's your story? How did you start in this regard, in terms of the transformations?
Okay, it seems that just from the beginning, from my childhood, I was some sort of assistant and troubleshooter. For example, I remember that when I was 5 years ago, I assist my grandmother. She was an accountant. She asked me to help her with compile the documents, and after that we went to the cinema and so on. So starting this year, I realized, okay, I really like to help people, to do everything to make their life better, to help them to understand what they really want and to free the time. So, everything about transformation, it's mostly about to help the people to live their better lives. It's my point of view.
Now that you have the perspective of working with your grandmother and the companies, which one do you think is easier? Which one is easier to make happy?
As a child, you're always happy.
As a child?
Yes, sure. And as for you, it's always like a game. When you became an adult, of course, everything is becoming more serious and serious and serious, and you understand, okay, you have a lot of responsibilities. Your decisions make impact on lives of a lot of people around you. So yes, when you're a child, it's much more easily and fun.
And talking about our childhoods, we come from the 80s and 90s. We are the generation which saw the transition from organic to the internet. Can you recall the moment when you felt it? You actually saw that real transition?
Oh yeah, sure, I remember. First of all, it's when the internet appeared in my life. As I remember, it was 1995. Then, of course, it was the first mobile phone, and then a smartphone, and first iPhone, of course. And I remember the time when we got the messengers, and we had the opportunity to call for free, text for free. Oh my God, it was really cool. And of course, now it's all AI agents, ChatGPT, and so on. As for me, it's a revolutionary technology. I'm fond of it. I'm using it in my everyday activities, so yes.
So you're talking about the continuous transformation, and you said it's like ongoing process.
Yes.
So I have a question. When do companies need you? When they feel that they are at the brink of stagnation, or when they are perfectionists and they just want to do more?
Good question, by the way. It depends on the leader of the company, first of all. And of course, it also reflects in the company strategy. For example, yes, if the leader really wants to be on the stage of the art, of course, even if everything is okay in the company, they want to go further, they want to implement the new approaches, they want to try something new. Maybe it's even in the DNA of the company as well. But the different situation in case when, yes, and especially it's mostly the case of the company belongs to the government or something like that. Yes, usually they are not pioneers on everything, but the time became when they realized, okay, we have to start to do something because we also want to be more efficient. We have to be competitive in comparison with commercial companies and so on. So, okay, the time is coming, we have to start.
So do you do certain diagnostics or evaluation? And if so, what are the certain key points?
Of course, diagnostic is the important part, but first of all, you have to talk to people, you have to discuss, as we talked with you before, okay, what's the goal?
Exactly.
Why it's time for this transformation? Why now? What's the goal? What are you going to have as a result? And so on and so on. After that, you will more or less realize, okay, what could be the next step? What are you going to do? What you can propose? Because first of all, of course, you have to present some sort of roadmap and try to discuss all the potential issues. And the most important, to have the support on the management level, and especially from the first person of the company. Without the support, any transformation will fail.
Talking about the games and the eras of the games, talking about technology, I think it's very transformational for most of us. We played a lot of games, and is there any that you remember that sticks out?
Yes, sure. As for me, I really want to play Civilization when I was younger.
Civilization?
Yes. I spent a lot of time on this game. And as I know, currently the new version just become. I didn't play, but it's still interesting for me.
So as I understand, part of the conversation we had before, it's mostly a long-term, long-period strategizing type of game and activities, and you do that with the companies as well. But what about today? Today it's very hard to actually surprise people. They saw a lot of things.
Yes.
What are the surprising trends for you, if you recall any, from the last 10 years?
You know, it's about the new technologies. For example, currently you can create your own image and to create the video of you. But yes, it's not you, it was created by AI. But you can show it to everyone, and a lot of people will believe that it's you. It's incredible, really incredible. I truly believe that it might change our lives in the future.
Well, you are ahead of the game. You started with the topic of AI. It's impossible not to mention it. I don't know, I come from the creative perspective. Most of the creative and aspiring writers, let's say painters, they see it as a threat to the ability of humanity. What do you think about that? Is it going to kill the creativity, or is it going to be like assistant to the creativity?
You know, as for me, it always depends on concrete person, how he or she is going to use it. Because yes, for some person, it's really a threat, because a lot of people usually do not use any assistance, any help from them. They used to do everything by themselves. Yes, for them, assistant from AI is not necessary. And yes, as for them, it might be not efficient. But for people, for example, who are not too proficient, for example, in writing or any content creation or something like that, yes, with help of AI, they could achieve much more. They could manage it. In general, yes, you should know exactly how to write the exact prompts, efficient prompts, how to check the results. It's especially important because, of course, the results might be fake. But if you know how to establish this new development process with helping of new AI assistants and so on, yes, it might be very helpful. So it always depends. It depends on concrete person how they are going to use it.
Talking about support, on the governmental level, do you closely work with institutions, or you're usually just providing the necessary tools and just waiting for the certain processes to be done? Talking about the bureaucratic, let's say, or some moments when you have to wait.
You know, it's case by case. In some cases, of course, the companies, the government companies interested, for example, to improve their efficiency. Usually it's about paperless or something like that. They mostly think about processes, but first of all, they have to think about the people, about the customers. And it's the biggest issue.
I want to think about you as a person. Individually, you have been dealing with a lot of geographies, people, and cultures. So you have seen a lot of cultures. And how did you blend in? What did you find out? And what was your personal discovery?
You know, my favorite book is Culture Map. I found this book several years ago, and it's brilliant. This book tells a lot details about difference in cultures across the globe. You know, it's really a useful book. I can recommend it to everyone who is going to work in international environment, who is going to work abroad, and so on. So the most important thing is, we are different. You always have to think in advance about the local traditions, about the local mindset. You should gather this information before you come to the new company, before you come to the new country, and so on. So it's the most insightful thing.
You are the you're behind the kitchen of the processes, and most of the companies, I guess, they see AI as something they have to deal with. What are the ongoing conversations that you guys have in your teams? Like, do you apply it 100%, or you're still keeping some gates closed, privacy issues and stuff like that? What's the entire philosophy about that?
The most challenging thing for all the companies around the world, it's how to implement AI efficiently. Because yes, it's brand new technology. It has a lot of potential opportunities, but it's really hard to implement it in the current processes. And especially when we are talking about something touching human, something related to the emotions, customer service and so on. Because if you ask me, the most visible thing, for example, of implementation, it's in the sales process or customer service.
Yes.
Okay, we will have chatbot, we implement AI there. Okay, you can ask some sort of questions, receive some sort of answers. Maybe helpful, usually not, because you need to spend a lot of time to train it in a correct way. So yes, it's visible. But as for us, first of all, we also, as all the companies, trying to find out the best ways how to implement it correctly and efficiently, and especially how still to become customer-centric. Because, sometimes it even do not bring value to the customers. Sometimes it also irritates them. And especially chatbots, as I said. Okay, the main idea that we will provide the tool to the customers to receive the answers to their questions 24/7. But just imagine that it's not useful because the answers are stupid or maybe not efficient. It's not about, these answers do not do not cover the problem which customer facing. And customer do not happy. That's why we are trying to do our best how to make the customer happy, even if we started to use these modern technologies.
I think before the chatbots, they were the IVR systems, and I know most of Azerbaijani companies try to teach our customers to apply the systems of IVR, but they always ended up calling the operators.
Yes.
And it just comes from the local maybe understanding or the local love for the communicating, and chatbots are very difficult to communicate with, as you mentioned. Are you working on this challenge? Is there any feasible change, or they're still very hard when they're giving some real substantial answers?
I truly believe that we always should think about the local context. As for me, local people here in Azerbaijan, we prefer to talk to each other. And the human touch, the face-to-face conversation, or at least person-to-person real conversation is very important for us. So that's why, as you know, we usually prefer to send voice messages instead to texting a log messages and so on. That's why, as for us, customers usually know better what best fits for them. Yes, of course, there are some sort of introverts and they prefer to chat, they prefer to use some digital tools and so on. And for them, of course, it's totally different type of customer profile. Of course, for them, we're trying to do our best with digital tools. But we also remember for all these people who really need this personal touch, who really needs to talk to somebody, and especially if we're talking about the insurance business, it's especially important because the person who had an issue, he or she wants to call, he or she wants to talk to somebody to explain what's happened, to feel that somebody care about this issue and so on and so on. Of course, current technologies can provide it.
So can I say that the diversity in the cultures is like a sweet challenge for you when it comes to applying that knowledge?
Yes, definitely. Even people from the neighbor countries might be totally different. I mean, not concrete personas, but in general. So yes, you should think about it.
I remember my friend when we used to travel with the competitions, and he would go to all of those cafes and places. He would collect certain loyalty cards because he was a fan of that. And do you do something like that when you are?
Yes. But I collect transportation cards. Yes, I have it across the globe. For example, from Madrid, Barcelona, Paris, Istanbul, and so on and so on. I'm not sure that I've never visited the cities again, but it's like a gift for me.
I'm guessing, yes, you're right, because it's an emotional outburst when they have some issue, and
Yes.
the chatbot is just giving the traditional,
Yes.
conventional answers.
Yes.
But talking about the human touch and working with humans, as an advisor, you work with a lot of important people, let's say, and what's your mechanism or dynamics of communication?
You know, first of all, it's about listen a lot. Listen, people. Try to understand their answers, to clarify everything. Do not guessing. If you have any questions and concerns, always ask it. To have an empathy to concrete people, try to understand, to do your best to understand, okay, their feelings, their current situation, and so on and so on. And of course, try to understand how you can help this concrete person. Because it always collaboration between you and him or her, and it's becoming very helpful and efficient in the future. So in this way, you build the relationship. You build trust, relationship, future collaboration, and so on.
Just in case, of all the cities, which one was the most transformational for you, if you think about that after all these years?
You know, it always depends on the angle we would like to see on it. But as for me, for example, the big cities in the Netherlands, like Amsterdam or Rotterdam, I could say that they are really transformative. They always think about future. They have issues because they are below the sea level. That's why they always should think in advance what we are going to do with infrastructure, how we are going to save people's lives, what we have to do with the climate. And as well, they also think about how to make the environment for citizens of cities more and more appropriate. For example, they always spend a lot of efforts to make some parks just in 15 minutes walking from home in every district and so on. They also spend a lot of efforts on keeping nature. So, you know, they are very transparent.
Can we say they try to remain humane in all of these adversities and the challenges of the new technological era? By the way, I know from my personal experience, Azerbaijan is closely watching what they do in agriculture. But what about the insurance industry? Is there any exchange of experiences, maybe some certain guidelines or some things they did as a mutual project? I don't know.
No, it's the most traditional businesses, I mean financial businesses, banks and insurance, they more or less have the same practices. Yes, experience sharing is very popular among the countries, among the companies and so on. As I know, a lot of companies here in Azerbaijan usually have experience sharing with companies in Turkey, in Western Europe and so on and so on. So it's very popular. But of course, we always have to remember that the experience in one company might be totally different while we want to implement it here. Because of mindset, because of different DNA of the company, because of different mindset of the people and so on. So yes, of course, it's totally interesting. Yes, it's useful, but you always should remember that, okay, how you will implement it.
As you worked for a long time, a long period of time, did you notice any commonalities maybe, or a certain GPS or like a map, a roadmap you can actually show to other people who will do that in the future?
What kind of roadmap do you mean?
Well, the way you start, maybe the initiation of the process of transformation.
Okay. First of all, we always should start with the question, why? Why are we going to do it? What's our goal? What's the problem we are going to solve with this transformation? So you always start from this. All the next steps usually are very different. It always depends on the answer for the first question. But again, you should realize, okay, in which environment you are going to do this transformation. Who will support you? Are people around you really ready for this or not? What do they think? What are their expectations? You know, stakeholder management is a really important part of this work, always. You should spend approximately 25-30% on stakeholder management only. It's a really important part to collaborate with people, to talk to them, to try to understand why they have a fear about any changes. It's naturally for people that they want to live the same life as before. It's okay. So you should really be in touch with them and try to understand their fears, try to explain your plans. It's okay to repeat it 100 times, and if necessary, repeat it more and more. So it's, as I said, stakeholder management is a really, really important part.
Talking about stakeholders, they usually, I don't know, I also come from the startup background. Sometimes I remember that the big companies, they love sticking to the things that work. And then you come and you say, you need to change. And I'm not sure if they welcome that easily or in a very fast way or faster way. Talking about patience, on average, what's that date of transformation, or like the period of transformation? Do you remember any transformation that happened in less than 1 year over time?
You know, I always hesitate about to talk about any terms of transformation, because as for me, transformation, it's always an ongoing process.
All right.
Even for our own personal lives, we transform during all our life. So the company doing the same. Yes, sometimes we can identify the concrete time period to say, okay, we will start our transformation. Okay. But in general, transformation of the company is beginning from scratch when the company just was registered. And then every month, every year, it transforms. So it depends which concrete transformation do we mean. But sometimes, okay, for example, we are going to make some sort of significant changes. It might be any significant business processes. It might be we would like to implement modern technologies and so on. Yes, as I said, we can try to set up the concrete frame and to say, okay, let's start to implement it.
I want to divert our topic course to the experiences that you had. I'm pretty sure you had many experiences, and they said like the startups can be your babies. What about the projects that you recall that are very valuable to you? I'm not going to say they failed, but they still had a very big impact on you. Like you did not want to let them go because they teach you something, I don't know. Can you recall any project that you are very, very sentimental or emotional about?
You know, it's hard to say, especially while I had a lot of projects in my life. I even could say that the total amount, maybe 5. You know, it's always about not technological transformation, but about culture transformation. Yeah. Especially when you work for the big company, and for example, there are 36,000 employees there. And yes, of course, you can't provide the transformation just in a short period for all of them, but you always start. Usually, the companies prefer to start from the headquarters. Yes. It might contain, for example, I don't know, 3,000-4,000 employees. They are top managers and middle managers of the middle level and so on. So yes, culture transformation is the most interesting and most remarkable.
Talking about the start, should it be massive start, like a very, very big investment, like a big announcement, or?
On paper, it always looks like you said, but in practice, not. Yes, especially big companies prefer usually to start with big projects. They can have big budget. They can allocate a lot of full-time employees on this project and so on. And they have plans, for example, for the next 3 years and so on. But in practice, such plans could fail easily because you should start to implement it incrementally, increment by increment. So it would be better always. Yes, of course, it's nice to have the overall plan for several years, high-level plan, of course. It's always great to have a budget. But if you really want to succeed, okay, it would be better to start with small projects which could be implemented in a short period of time.
After pandemics, we all noticed there were some global transformations. Yeah. And a lot of companies, they needed to follow that. What do you think that came to here as well, which was actually something that did not start in here, but it just came from there? meaning the West maybe or Europe, and we started doing that as well.
Yes, for me, all the trends spreading globally, and it's okay. Yes, of course, sometimes we have some specific cases in concrete, not only countries but companies as well. For example, some companies prefer to have employees who works remotely. For some companies, it's the bad decision, and so on. But you know, we always should think about the local context, not only the local context of concrete country, but the company as well. There are no any common decisions. All the decisions always are unique, and especially the implementations of any decision is always unique.
I'm thinking you're just going the way the Buddhist monks would go. Like you look at the mountaintop, don't look, just make sure you look at your feet, you just take step, and after step you will understand you get somewhere. So far, what are you working on right now? If it's not a commercial secret, or what ongoing projects you're involved in?
You know, the most interesting thing it's about the new lines of the insurance projects. Of course, I do not do it by myself. It's the work of all the company, of course. We're trying to do our best, as we discussed before, to implement the new approaches and new technologies in customer journeys, trying to make our products more, how to say, warm for the customers. Not just to provide them insurance, but to provide them feel of care, feel that they are safe. It's really hard, by the way, because you know you should think about every step on the customer journey and ask yourself, okay, what do the customer feel right here? What can we do here? And sometimes, you know, you realize that technology doesn't fit to this concrete step. You might do it manually. And that's why, you know, it's always challenging. Yes, you want to be the efficient company, modern company who use the most efficient processes and so on, but on some steps you realize, okay, some steps it might be better to save as traditional.
Did you have, because I know from experience you probably have it, but the moment when you had to pivot, like you try to change something,
Okay.
you test it, and you see that reaction is not going the way you wanted, what do you do in this case?
You know, for me, it's okay. It's usual part of work. The most important here is to make these attempts very quickly. Fail fast, learn fast. It's the most important thing. But yes, sometimes you can spend a lot of efforts, even maybe you love this concrete idea. In this case, you have to keep your brain cold and to remember, okay, first of all, I have to think about results. First of all, I have to think, okay, what are we going to achieve? What's the current results of the startup, of this project, and so on? Do we need to spend much more time and efforts and money to make one more attempt or not? It's always about it.
The global companies, they do things like A/B testing, or
Yes.
a lot of countries, they try to follow big names like Amazon and other things. Do you have your own favorite shortlist for like taking example from, or just researching about and saying, okay, they do something great and cool?
You know, as for me, I truly believe that all the companies do approximately the same. All the huge companies, and especially huge enterprises, they have a lot of approaches, and there are a lot of employees. Some employees do these modern things, use these modern approaches, and so on. Some of them not, and it's okay. So, as for me, we can't say that some companies are on the state of the art of technologies or modern approaches and so on and so on. Some of them not. And especially while we're talking about such companies like Microsoft or Google or Facebook or Amazon and so on and so on. I truly believe that all of them use all the modern approaches in general.
Right.
But of course, in concrete departments, the situation might be different.
Recently, as we talked in the previous time period, NVIDIA, they did something like a portable processor, and like a room-sized processors becoming portable. And how do you think that will also affect insurance companies, or maybe it's companies who are trying to also do something are they going to be autonomous, or are they going to be more in the direction of startups, being very fast, or they will still use the same things they did previously?
If we're talking about chips, so it's more or less specific business. It's more or less related to something with video generation, maybe cryptocurrency, AI models, and so on and so on. Banking, financial, insurance business is mostly still traditional. Yes, there are some sort of modern technologies and so on, but it's mostly still traditional business. So I couldn't say that such chips can make significant impact in the nearest future. But for companies, for example, like OpenAI, or I don't know, any smartphone productions and so on, of course, they can really make this difference. They can produce more.
Impact, I would say.
Yes. This impact much be more efficient for them.
As a writer, I get a chance to see the feedbacks of my readers, but what about you? How do you understand if the customers are happy or not? Like, do you see certain focus groups or reviews, or what do you do?
There are several approaches. First of all, it's design thinking methodology. It's about discovering the ideas for new products or attempts to improve the current products and current business processes. First of all, I'm talking about sales process and customer service process. So, of course, it contains several tools, and interviews is just one part of them. But the other thing, it's about current customers of our current products. Of course, we ask our customers about feedbacks. We ask to provide our feedback, and of course, we work with it. And we even also call to the customers to know the details. We also can ask them to join us in their office and also to tell us the details and so on. So it depends. But in general, yes, of course, we work with the feedback, we work with interviews.
Then I guess in your case, maybe blockchain technology and smart contracts were the deal. I was following that for many years, trying to understand when the banks and the governmental entities would start using that. Maybe they're already doing that. I'm not sure if they're publicly announcing it, or it's still at the stage of research.
It was very popular technology, but at the same time, it's not implemented everywhere, and even across the globe. If you try to research this topic, you will see, yes, some big companies and first of all banks tried to implement it. In some cases it was successful. No, even most of the companies said it was very successful. But at the same time, if you try to explore their business processes, you will see that it was still just testing. Maybe they implemented in some processes somewhere, but not across all the processes, not all across the company. As for me, I still believe, there are some difficulties with implementation of it. In some levels, first of all, it's on the government level, because there are also some sort of laws should be revised. The second thing, it's about the cost of implementation of its technology. In some cases, it's not cost effective, by the way. Yes, it's pretty cool. Yes, it might bring some value, but you always should count money.
You're talking about the cost.
Yes, and especially, do the customers really want it? Are they ready for this? I'm not sure. We can say that, for example, in some regions of Earth, a lot of people do not trust in digital technologies. As for them, it's more usual to go to the branch of the bank rather than to use mobile banking, for example.
They want to be probably the pioneers of that and be at the forefront.
Yes.
It takes a lot of time, but yeah. Thank you for this bloke. All right, as your main customers still remain companies, as I understand, because in the transformation process, I see transformation as an institutional notion. Is there any way we should start learning about it, developing it as an intuitive approach?
There is a methodology, for example, design thinking. It's a very cool thing, and I would like to recommend to start with it. The most important thing when you're trying to implement it, it's to use this methodology correctly. Because a lot of employees, a lot of people, even in the well-known companies, are trying to do it.
Yes.
So-called customer-centric approach, design thinking, customer development, and so on and so on. But if you ask these people, okay, how exactly are you going to do it? What's the methodology, and so on? You will find out that there are a lot of, I won't say mistakes, but at least uncertainties in the process, in the results. That's why the results might be not as correct as expected. Yes, people could spend a lot of efforts, could do a lot of job, but the result might be incorrect.
Yeah, I think we could talk about it endlessly, but I think every journey starts and also finishes. As we are trying to wrap up, I would ask, because it's a tradition in our podcast, every guest, he is giving some sort of recommendation to people or companies. In your case, it's going to be about transformation. Like, what should we concentrate on?
Okay, first of all, please think about people, not technologies, not processes. Because every transformation we do for people and with help of people. Which means, okay, first of all, we have to understand which expectations these people have, okay, how we can serve to them, and especially to our customers and so on. And the same thing, it's about our own employees. Okay, what do they think about it? Do they have any cool ideas which could be implemented already? Do they have any fear related to these changes and so on? It's the first thing. But yes, of course, technologies and processes are also important, but in the second line.
I would finally want to thank your grandmother for giving you the first task of troubleshooting. I think she did a great job now that you're helping the companies, and I think she will set a good example for all the other parents and grandmothers and grandfathers in general. Thank you very much for accepting the offer to come and share your insights. And good luck in your ongoing projects and the next ventures.
Okay, thank you for the invitation.